Hello, this is Max. Today you will learn the story of a psychopath who kidnapped girls and kept them in a bunker. Warning, there will be spoilers. The movie commences with the introduction of Jordan Turner, a dedicated operator at the 911 emergency headquarters in Los Angeles. Throughout her shift, she receives numerous calls, some of them highly critical. Nevertheless, Jordan remains composed and skillfully assists distressed individuals, earning her self-respect and popularity within the department. One day, Jordan receives a call from Leah, a young woman who barely manages to whisper that an intruder is attempting to break into her house. Immediately taking action, Jordan tracks Leah's cell phone location and dispatches police officers to her aid. She instructs Leah to hide and secure herself in a room, which the terrified girl immediately does, cautiously ascending the stairs. As the intruder enters the house, he begins searching each room. In a moment of realization, he notices a slightly open window with Leah's shoes on the ground beneath it, leading him to assume that she must have escaped. Unaware that Leah is actually hiding under the bed, he proceeds downstairs in pursuit. Suddenly, Leah's 911 call abruptly ends, sending Jordan into panic as she redials the number. Tragically, the sound of the ringtone alerts the intruder to Leah's hiding place, and he proceeds to drag her out. Seizing her phone, he begins conversing with Jordan. Desperately, she pleads for him to surrender, assuring him that the authorities are en route, but the intruder remains unfazed. In a chilling voice, he utters, "It's too late," before abruptly ending the call. The incident leaves Jordan in a state of shock, burdened by guilt over the girl's untimely demise. Days later, Jordan returns to work, but the traumatic event continues to haunt her, leaving her anxious and hesitant to resume her duties. Adding to her distress, news outlets report the discovery of Leah's body in a gruesome condition near the highway. Overwhelmed, Jordan reaches her breaking point and decides to cease working, seeking solace on the balcony. Her boyfriend, Paul, who is also a police officer in the same department, joins her for support. He attempts to rationalize that such occurrences are unfortunately prevalent in today's world, but Jordan's deep depression prevents her from fully embracing his words. The movie then jumps forward 6 months, with Jordan still grappling with anxiety. She has resigned from her role as an operator and now works as a trainer for new recruits. This new position spares her from direct interaction with emergency callers, allowing her to perform well in her current role. In another location, two teenage girls, Autumn and Casey, are spending time together at a mall, waiting for their friends to join them. However, Autumn receives a call from her boyfriend and hurriedly leaves, accidentally leaving her phone behind. Casey holds onto the phone while Autumn is away. Later, as Casey walks through the mall parking lot, a car unexpectedly reverses, narrowly missing her. Frustrated, Casey curses at the driver and picks up her broken phone. Unfortunately, the driver becomes furious and attacks her from behind, rendering her unconscious with chloroform. He proceeds to place her in the trunk of his car and drives away. At the 911 headquarters, Jordan is training new recruits when an operator receives an urgent call. It turns out to be Casey, who has just regained consciousness inside the trunk of the car. Since her own phone was damaged earlier, she is using Autumn's phone to make the call. The operator attempts to gather information from Casey, but she is in a state of panic and struggles to articulate her thoughts. With limited options, Jordan takes over the call, utilizing her experience as the most seasoned operator in the building. She tries to trace Casey's location, but unfortunately, Autumn's phone lacks GPS capabilities. Jordan then resorts to Plan B and asks Casey if she remembers any details from her kidnapping. Despite her overwhelming fear, Casey manages to recall that she is in a red car and that the kidnapper wears glasses. However, this information is insufficient, prompting Jordan to instruct Casey to break the car's tail light and survey her surroundings. Casey follows the instructions, and when she waves her hands through the hole, a woman notices her and immediately calls 911. Finally, Jordan obtains the car's license plate number, but a search reveals that the kidnapper is using a fake identity. When the woman disobeys Jordan's advice and approaches the kidnapper's car for a better view, He becomes suspicious and abruptly exits the highway. Back at Square One, Jordan tells Casey to search the trunk for any useful items. In her terrified state, Casey discovers a can of paint, a screwdriver, and a shovel. Seeing the shovel, Casey panics, fearing that the kidnapper intends to harm her and bury her with it. However, Jordan manages to calm her down and instructs Casey to pour the paint outside so that the police can easily spot it from a helicopter. Unfortunately, when the kidnapper stops at a red light, an unsuspecting driver approaches him and notices the leaking white paint, unaware of the situation. This raises the kidnapper's suspicions, leading him to run the red light and drive to a secluded area. He opens the trunk and threatens Casey, unaware that she still has a phone with her. Meanwhile, the concerned driver from earlier becomes suspicious of the kidnapper's abrupt behavior and follows him, parking nearby. Believing that the kidnapper is concealing something in the trunk, the driver confronts him but is attacked and knocked down with a shovel. The kidnapper then changes cars, loads both Casey and the unconscious driver, and drives away. In the subsequent scene, Paul and his partner follow the trail of paint and discover the abandoned car used by the kidnapper. Paul notices blood on the side of the car and a shattered bottle of chloroform, giving him an idea. He can use the bottle to obtain the kidnapper's fingerprint. Meanwhile, Casey continues talking to Jordan, describing the new vehicle they are in. Suddenly, the driver next to her wakes up and begins screaming. This alerts the kidnapper, prompting him to park the car, eliminate the driver, and place his corpse back in the trunk. At this critical juncture, Casey has accepted the grim reality that her survival is unlikely. She begins her final prayers, but Jordan once again provides comfort and urges her to retrieve the driver's ID. Casey complies, and with the information from the card, Jordan finally learns details about the car they are in. Realizing that the car is running low on gas, the kidnapper pulls over at a gas station. Seizing this opportunity, Casey, whose phone battery is also dying, climbs through the back seat and screams for help. However, before anyone can react, the kidnapper ruthlessly eliminates a nearby worker by setting him on fire with gasoline. He then renders Casey unconscious and closes the trunk. The incident severs communication between Jordan and Casey, leaving Jordan deeply concerned. Fortunately, using the kidnapper's fingerprint from the broken glass bottle, the police identify him as Michael Foster Paul. Upon receiving this information, Paul and his team urgently rush to Michael's house for leads and to question his wife. Meanwhile, Michael arrives at his destination and retrieves Casey from the trunk. To his dismay, Michael discovers that Casey possesses a phone that remains connected to the police. When he picks up the phone, Jordan addresses him by his full name, informing him that the police are interrogating his family at his home. She warns him to surrender and release Casey, but Michael callously responds, "It's too late." These words trigger realization for Jordan that Michael is the same individual who kidnapped and murdered Leah 6 months prior. In another location, as Paul searches through the kidnapper's house, he comes across a picture resembling Leah, who is revealed to be Michael's deceased sister. Paul questions Michael's wife about the photo's location, and she identifies it as Santa Clarita Hills. Without wasting time, the police rush to the area, yet once again, their search yields no results. Meanwhile, Michael takes Casey to an underground bunker and prepares for a disturbing medical procedure. He secures her to a chair, but Casey manages to free her arms and sprays him with insecticide. Attempting to escape, Casey is unfortunately recaptured by Michael. As midnight approaches, Jordan remains at the call center, tirelessly searching for another clue in the case. Paul contacts her, assuring her that Casey will be found alive, as the police diligently search every passing vehicle in the vicinity. Despite Paul's assurances, Jordan remains unsatisfied and decides to take matters into her own hands. She heads to Michael's abandoned old house and discovers family pictures that reveal Michael's sister died of cancer, coincidentally at the same age as Casey. Thinking it is too late, a disheartened Jordan prepares to leave but is suddenly reminded of the background noise from Casey's previous phone call recording. She discovers Casey's shattered phone and an underground hatch. The realization strikes her that Michael carries out his heinous crimes inside the bunker. Fearful that calling for backup might alert the kidnapper, Jordan bravely enters the bunker alone. Deep within the bunker, Jordan stumbles upon Michael, preparing for his sinister deeds. She hides in a corner while Michael caresses a blonde wig resembling his sister's hair. Jordan notices blood on the ground, realizing the hair in Michael's hand was recently torn from one of his victim's scalps. It is revealed that the kidnapper abducts girls who resemble his late sister and removes their scalps, storing them in a mini fridge as macabre keepsakes. In the next scene, as Michael prepares to cut into Casey's scalp, Jordan emerges from her hiding spot and strikes him with a mannequin head, rendering him unconscious. She frees Casey from the surgical table, and they make their escape. Unfortunately, Michael regains consciousness and attacks Jordan. Just as he is about to deliver a fatal blow, Casey intervenes, striking him in the head, causing him to stumble and fall. The two girls manage to exit the bunker, with Michael slowly pursuing them. Upon reaching the surface, they confront him, launching a fierce attack and throwing him back into the depths of the bunker. Feeling a newfound sense of safety, Jordan plans to call for backup, but Casey interrupts, revealing she has another plan. In the final scene, Michael regains consciousness, finding himself chained to the same surgical seat. Jordan and Casey approach him, informing him that they will leave him imprisoned in the bunker as punishment for his crimes. Michael panics, begging to call the police and be arrested. However, the girls disregard his pleas, leaving him alone in the room. The movie concludes on a satisfying note as the sadistic killer is left to rot within the confines of the bunker. Thank you for watching. You can subscribe and give this video a like. Goodbye.